Good afternoon, everyone. We will still wait for a couple of minutes while others are joining. Good afternoon, Vidhi.
Ma'am, can you tell us the syllabus of mid two?
Can you repeat your question? I didn't got your question.
Can you please tell us the syllabus of mid two?
Oh, yes. It is unit 4, 5, and 6. In the first mid semester, we had 1, 2, and 3. And now we are having 4, 5, and 6. Okay, we shall begin. In the last lecture, we have seen how to create applets, what are the life cycle, what are the stages of the applet life cycle. We have neat, start, stop, then we have destroy, and paint is always there. Whenever applet is getting started or resumed, at that time, paint is automatically called to paint whatever is written. Inside your paint function, whatever is written, it is automatically put onto the applet. And we have seen that your graphics class is one of the classes which is holding different functions to draw different shapes in your applet if you wish to. You can even set the foreground color, background color, and so many things in your applet if you wish to by using that class's properties. So is anybody having any questions so far? Okay. Okay, good. Yes, okay, fine, no problem. Then today I want to I want to show different components which can be added onto the applet. Uh, like I said yesterday, in the AWT package, we have so many different components. You can have button, checkbox, list. List is different thing as compared to list. We have what we have seen in our linked list. It is a different thing. That was an interface. A list was it was a class that was implementing. Uh, in the collection API, we have seen this list as an interface, but this is not that list. It is a drop down list, how to create menu bars, those kind of different text area, text fields. So these components are there already in your AWT or abstract window toolkit package. We are importing directly over here. I want to show you how to use those components, how to place them onto the applet, and how to use those components. So we can I was thinking, oh yes, we can. What we can do is we can start with a simple example. So with the example, you can understand it in a better way. Let us try to create a login page. No, let us try to create first a calculator. Okay, yeah, that is a better option. So you have two numbers which you want to input from user, and yeah, you are having two text fields, and you have a simple button add. And when you click on this button add, the addition of these two numbers should be displayed somewhere. These kind of, layout you want to create. So you will need these components, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 components you will need. Now these N1 and N2 are nothing but the labels, you can say. We already have a label class over here. Let me show it to you. Yes, we already have a label class in your AWT, which can be useful for printing out the labels like this. These two are the text fields. We have one button, and this you can keep as a label also, or you can even, if you want, it can be a text field also. It is totally your choice how you want to put the answer, or where do you want to put the answer. This is supposed to be printing the answer. If you are putting 5 and 10, then this label or text field should be showing you 15. That is the task of this label or text field. Whatever you feel, it is okay to keep that component. Now, to create such layout in your applet, we can simply, so you see, for creating any component, these are all the classes. Label itself, you can see, it is actually a class here. Label is a class. If it is something like this, no, some icon like this in your NetBeans or any of the editor, it is an interface, but this is a class. This means that you have to extend interface in some of the class. See, it is an interface, but label is nothing but a class. So to access this label, we need to create the object of a class label. And for however number of components you want to create in your applet, you will have to create those many number of objects for those individual components that you want to create. Okay, and also make sure I read out this thing very clearly. Label is extending the superclass component. So you already have a component class, which is already there, but hierarchy I'm going to show later on. First, we are going to see how to implement it, then we can come back to the hierarchy. So any of the components that you are going to use here, they all are there is actually a class known as component, which is already there in your AWT package. And these classes are extending the superclass component. That one thing you need to keep in mind. Now I'm putting here star because I want to use whatever number of classes I want to use. So to create the label, I am simply, see, if you remember this thing, then if you remember or not, I would like to, recap that thing again. Whenever you are writing something in the class, unless and until you don't write in its constructor, which is something beyond applet, what we have seen before itself, unless and until you don't write something inside the constructor, this statement stands no chance. Meaning outside the class's body, inside the class's body, anywhere, you must be write the meaningful statements in some function. You can write the meaningful statements in some function or in some scope known as constructor. Or if you wish, you can even write some components or some, some statements in a static block also. And it's totally your choice. But the meaningful statements which are used for initialization or anything, they must be created inside the constructor or in any of the body of any of the block that you wish to. So whenever you call that function or whenever you create the object of that or whenever the class is loaded into the memory, that block or this code will be automatically executed. So you cannot write statements like SOP over here. You cannot write statements like if I want to add 2 and 3 or if I want to add some variable k and j, you cannot write something like this over here. Because these are the operation statements that cannot be written outside anywhere inside the class's body. This point we have discussed in your classes program, objects program also. So you can write some meaningful statements inside the constructor or inside the function or inside static block if you wish to. All right. Now, the point I am conveying this reason right now again is you cannot initialize label like this over here. This code will not be executed because it is not written inside a constructor or it is not written inside some meaningful block of code. Now, to write the meaningful block of code, we already know that this doesn't understand the public static void main. Your web browser or your applet can work without void main. It doesn't require void main. Then where I can initialize this label? So we know the function init from your applet lifecycle. We know the function init, which is used for initializing something in your applet. Now that something or initializing the applet, it can be also used for initializing this components that you are planning to use over here. So the statements of initializing the components that you want to use, they can reside under init function also. To initialize in the sense simply creating the object of label class, and as I have created the object with the default constructor, the label will have nothing written over there because I have created the label with the default constructor. So label will be printed as nothing will be shown over here. But if I want to show that you have to enter number 1 or something, whatever you want to put or whatever text you want to display on the label, then I can use this constructor to set that value onto the label. Now, if I simply run the program, it should be printing the label, right? Let us, because I have created it, no, so it should be there. But it is not there. Why it is not there? You have created the label, but have you added this label onto the applet? No, we haven't added the label onto our container. The point I'm trying to convey here is that for however number of components that you create or whatever components that you create in your program, they all must be added on to the applet for them to view properly. For us to see those components, we cannot simply create and leave it like that. We need to add these components onto your container, which is your applet currently. And for adding these components onto your applet, we have the function add itself, wherein I can add my component. Which component do I want to add? I want to add currently my label 1. So I can add label 1 onto the applet. Now if we run, it should be seen on your applet. Yes, we are able to see number 1 as a label on your applet because now we have added it. In the similar way, we can create more labels. Say for example, I am creating, here only I can group, of course, like we group our integers and variables. I am creating another label over here. I am printing that it is a new label for label number 2, and this cannot be done in groups. Can it be done in groups like this? Oh, let me check. Then it must be something new. No, yes, of course. Yes, no. You cannot add multiple components simultaneously. That I remember, because we also used to add it individually. And if I add it individually, it should be, yes, now it is showing both the labels properly. So you need to add the components one by one. You cannot grouply add them. That is one thing that we have to keep in mind. Another thing is the way they are displayed currently. They are displayed in one line, side by side, but we are going to change that, of course. We'll see how to change it. Okay, after labels, what else do we need? We need here 2 text fields. So do we have a class known as text field? Yes, we have a class known as text field. I am simply creating the two text fields over here, tf1 and tf2, and tf1 equals to new text field. I am initializing it. Now, see, you can even create the text field with some default text written inside it. And where do you see this kind of application? Whenever you create a form which is already having some predefined, like it is informing you that, okay, you need to enter here password, you need to enter here username, you need to enter here phone number. If you want some predefined text already present on your text field, then you can use this constructor. Currently, I am simply using the constructor which is not having anything because I want my text field to be blank, because user is going to put numbers over there. So I'm creating it with a blank constructor. So I have created the first text field. I am creating the second text field. And now, oh yes, I forgot to add them. Yes, yes, I have to add them onto our applet. The thing you should be noticing now is, see the way I am using the add function. Without using any object, I am simply using add. How is it possible? Because see, whenever I'll give you this, you already have done. Still, I'll give you one example. If I am simply creating one function p, if I want to call init of your class inside another function in the same class, then I can simply use the name of the function to call a function of the same class. See, both the functions are of the same classes, right? Init and p both. I can simply call this function by using its name, like that I can call. In the same way, you are calling add like that only. Why? Add is not the function of a test, no. But add is a function of your superclass applet. So all the functions and all the properties of applet class are visible inside of this body. And hence, without creating any object, you can simply call add, and you can directly add your component to that particular applet. So you need not to crawl any object, you need not to create any object, because it is visible over here. The properties are accessible over here, just like it is like calling another function from the same class. Right. Now I have added the text field, and now I should be getting the text field. It is currently in this manner only. We are going to change the appearance. See, it is a text field. You can definitely add content over here. The size I have not given, I'm going to change that. But just it is going to enter the text like this. One more component we need. Okay, we need two more components. We need a button, and we need a label or a text field for printing the answer onto. So to add one button, do we have a button class? Yes, we have a button class in your applet itself. I am naming it as v1, and I am creating the new button. If I want the button to be blank without any text on it, I can create it like this. But if I want to create some, if I want to put some text onto the button, I want the button to have certain name or label on it, then I'm keeping that label, and will add the button also onto your applet. Now it should be having button also. Yes, it is already having button, and you can see it is clickable. When you click, it is pressed. When you release, it is released accordingly. So you have buttons like that, of course, in your applet. And we need one more label to print the answer onto. You can create label, you can create text. Well, it is again totally your choice. How do you want to take? The methods are same, right? You have the method set text, just like you had get text, getter setup. You have method set text to set the value onto that label, or you can also call a set text on a text field also. So if you want another text field, again the method will be set text only for setting its value to the updated added value of these two numbers. So, and just one thing to think is, as you have a set text, you also have get text on the text fields. So that get text is going to retrieve the values that you have written onto the text field. Just to keep that point open in your mind, that you can have getter setter over here, just like you have that in your simple programs also. And Get text is used to retrieve the text on your text field, also on your label. Both are same only. Set is for setting the value of your text field or your label. Now let us see the layout. Currently, if I run this program, it is adding the components as and when we add them. And oh yes, the sequence also matters. Yes, let me first clarify one point. If I add the button first, and now if I run the applet, of course the button will be added first. So the way you add the components matters whenever you are adding it. One thing to keep in mind. Another thing is that it is currently placed in a flow layout manner. Flow layout in the sense, it keeps on adding the components till the lines are done adding the components, and then it wraps up and brings the component to the next line. Again, it fills this next line, again third line, fills the third line, and accordingly the components are going to get added in that fashion. That is the default layout. The default way the components are added onto your applet is by using flow layout. And actually, flow layout is one of the class. You can check. See, I'm creating, showing you. See, flow layout is one of the class inside your applet, which is the by default way of adding the text. Much like the lines of the text, you can read it out here. It is created, the objects, the sequence of adding is much like the lines of text in a paragraph. So how it is added, how is the default way, the way you are seeing the components right now, it is added in a flow layout manner, means it is like the lines of the text that you are writing in the paragraph. Once this line is done, wrap it up, next line, wrap it up, third line, like that on, it goes on and adds the components. This is the default layout of any of the applet that you will be creating. But again, we want the layout something like this. All right. So we are naturally not going to use the flow layout for now here. So if I want to cancel out this layout, if I want to remove this layout, then you can set your layout to null. Null in the sense, let me show it to you. Before I add the components, I can call set layout function, and in set layout, I am currently setting my layout as null. So what does this mean? I don't want to use the default layout, but I am going to position these elements on my own. I am going to set the position of these elements on my own. That is what it means when you make it null. So henceforth, the components will not be there in the flow layout. That is the first thing. Secondly, they will not be currently seen because as your layout is null, now you are bound to give the position of these elements. So the applet is of course started. See, it is started, but the components are not seen because now you have to give the layout position of these components on your own whenever you are setting your layout as null. However, you have so many layout classes. It is not just flow layout. I am telling you, there are so many layouts. There is a grid layout, there is a box layout, border layout, card layout, grid bag layout. So many layouts are there. We are going to see those layouts for sure. But I'm just telling you that flow layout is the default layout, and it is the way the components are added is in the line. When you start typing, how the line wraps it up in the same manner, it is the components are added. And if you wish to not to use that layout, it is a default layout. If you don't wish to use it, just set it as null. But now you need to give position of these elements onto your applet. That is what we are going to give it now. But so far, are things getting clear in your mind?
Yes, ma'am, but how can we validate that fields?
Okay, validation, see, whenever the add button is clicked, you can check whether it is having digits or not, whether it is having characters or not. That can be done whenever user is clicking on the add button and you can print some message that okay, the elements that you have entered are incorrect, or the value that you are entering is incorrect, right? That is what you are want to do, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes, yes. That we are going to see whenever the button is made clickable, and what we should be doing in order to make that button clickable. That I am going to show you. Okay, don't worry, that will come, because for any of the program that you are creating, validation is a must thing. Before validation, you cannot do nothing. So we are going to see that once we see how to handle or how to listen to that clickable event of your button. Okay, that I'm going to show it to you. But apart from that, is anybody having any questions in so far what we have seen?
No, ma'am.
Okay, 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 fine. Okay, okay, fine. Okay, so now let us see how to set the position of these components on your applet. So to set the position, say for example, I am setting the position of the first label L1. Okay, let us take the first label L1, and I want to set the position. There is no such method as position, but we have a method known as bounds. BOUNDS, set bounds, yes. Set bounds comes with the 4 different parameters here. It is coming with 4 different parameters in the sense the X and Y location of that position where you want to start this label. The label has to start from where? From this X comma Y, and what should be its width and height. So these 4 numbers if you give, then you can set the position of this label onto your applet. Just for okay, X coordinate. Now, how much do you want this label to start from on your X axis? Say for example, I want to start at 30. Okay, then from the top, how much distance do you want from the top? Okay, say for example, I want the distance from the top as 50. I'm just giving, okay, fine. Then what about the width? Just keeping the width of this label as 100 and keeping the height of this label as 20. Alright, so X from the left hand side, it will be 30 pixels on the left, 50 pixels from the top. Again, we can change the position if it is not proper. Just give me 1 second, no? Just 1 second. Yes, sir. Ah, sir, bolo. Yes, yes, sir. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, where were we? Yes, here. Okay. So we can, yes, we are giving X, Y, width and height. Now, if we run the program again, oh yes, it is now at 30 pixels from the left, 50 from the right, and it is 100 width and 20 pixels in the height. But for label, we don't want to, we cannot see the boundary. But if we give the boundary in the text field, then we can definitely see how bigger the text field we want. Let us try to set the bounds of another label. We have set bounds for L2 also. Now this label I want exactly beneath my first label. So I am not changing the X coordinate over here, but I am changing the Y from 50 to 100. 50 pixels below, I want to start my next label. And width and height we can definitely keep same, 120. So it will be below. See, it is 50 pixels starting on the X coordinate, and it is 20 pixels in the height. So 70 will be occupied by your L1. After 30 pixels, we are getting 100 position we want to start from, and it will extend till 120, just to make you think that X and this length can work accordingly. Yes, like this we can get the next label. Now that we have set first and second label, we can set the text fields. To set the text fields, first text field, let us set it exactly on the right hand side of this label. So we want to shift our X, we want to increase the X, but we don't want to change the Y over here. And one thing to keep in mind, as the width of this label is 100 pixels. So starting from 30 to 100, so 130 is reserved by this label So we can we can choose to start our text field from, say for example, 150 on the x-axis. We can choose to start it from 150 on the x-axis, and let us keep the y and the height and the width the same. Other three parameters I am keeping same. I am just changing the x over here. Sorry, the position of x. What happened? Oh, sorry, it is TF1. Yes, sorry, text field 1 is TF1. Let us run it again. Yes, we got the field over here. And now we want another text field exactly below this one. So we can choose to keep the same x for another text field, right? X could be same. Y we are going to increase. We can increase the y by 50 pixels, or sorry, 100 pixels over here, because it is already at 50 and height is 20. So 70 is fixed up by this text field. So I can choose to keep the height as around 150 or something for TF2. TF2 dot set bounds. All right. I am keeping definitely the x will be same as our previous one. I want to change the y. I can keep the y as 150, or we can even keep it 100 just to create 30 pixel of distance between both of them. And 120, the width and height, I am keeping it same. And now if we run, it should be in the same alignment, yes, with 30 pixels of difference across both of them. We have got both the text fields. Now we want to place the button. You can choose to place it exactly below number 2 also, or you can choose to, make it right a little bit on along with number 2. So we can choose to increase the number 2's x if we want. So this label number 2's x is currently kept as 30. We can choose to increase the x coordinate to 50 or 100 or something. And as this TF2 is set as 100 on the y, we can choose to increase the y as we want it below it. We can choose to increase the y by 50 or something, like 150 or something. And then whatever width and height we want, we can keep. So let us try to add the button by set bounds. We can we can increase the x as 100 because we don't want it to be exactly below our both the labels. I am increasing the x coordinate, and below 100 of course, because this is already occupying 20 pixels of this height. 120 is already there for text field, both of them. So we can choose this to be 150. The width you can choose to keep it 120 if you want to keep it same. Again, it is okay. Again, it is your choice. However you want to change it, depends again on the label, the text on the label actually. Yeah, we have got the button over here, and we can. It is clickable, of course. One more bound we have forgot to set is your label 3's bound. The last label's bound, it is left to set. Again, you can keep it anywhere if you wish to, but and it is not visible currently. If you want to see this label, the third label that we have created or not, we have simply created a variable. We haven't initialized that. That is we have to do. So I am initializing the third label. I am simply keeping it as answer just to show you where the location will be. And you can choose to keep the x same. You can choose to increase the y with 200, and whatever width and height you wish, you can definitely keep. I'm exactly keeping it below our add button.
मैम ऐड करना पड़ेगा ना?
Yes, Pallywood, I forgot to add. You are right. Yes, I forgot to add. Yes, add L3. Yes. Now it should be visible. Yes, here we have the answer. You can choose to make it a little bit up if you want. Again, it is your choice. But just see, the position is not varying when you increase the size of the window. See, the position is stuck because you are fixing it now. So the position is stuck. But ideally what should happen, when the size of the window is increasing, along with that, even your components size should also increase. That all will come in your grid layout. Whenever you are using grid or card or such different box layout, at that time, according to the window size, these component size with respect to that, it will also increase. That we are going to see later on. It is just the example so that you can understand. Like this, you can add different components. Now what is left? It is done. but we need to make the button clickable. That we haven't done yet. Okay, so okay, so far is anybody having any questions?
Ma'am, how can we print the answer?
Yeah, that is what, when the button is clicked, at that time what should happen? The automatically the text field's value should be retrieved, and automatically, you know, the summation should be done, right? That is left. So
Yes,
first
ma'am.
thing is to make the button clickable. So to make any button clickable, first of all, you need to add the event, in the sense you need to make sure that the button is having some action, and that action can be added. See, currently what is happening, whenever you are clicking, nothing is happening, meaning nobody is listening to your button's action. Hear my words very carefully. None of the applet or the events are not listening to your button's action event. Your whatever action you want to do is not being listened, or the button clicked is not being listened by your applet currently, and we want to make that happen. So this listening of the action event, there is actually one whole interface for managing the events, for managing the action events, in the sense for adding the action events. Action event is actually one listener which is already listening to your action events that you are adding onto your button. To enable the listening of the action, we need to add one thing over here. Adding in the sense, whose action I want to listen? I want to listen the action of this button. So adding the listener for this particular button, whenever the action is happening, the applet should be able to listen to that event, and applet should be able to answer to that action that you want to do, or applet should be able to handle that event. That event handling can be added by adding the listener of the button. So now whenever I am calling this on button add action listener is actually a function which enables the button. See, button is clickable currently. Every button that you add over here will be definitely clickable. But if you want to listen to, or if you want your applet to listen to the action of click and unclick of your button, then we need to add the action listener on that particular button. If you have multiple buttons in your applet, then, and if you want to listen to every button's action, like subtraction, addition, multiplication, division, if you have so many buttons, and if you want to listen to every button's action event, then you need to add the listener for every button's action event. In the sense, you need to add this listener for B2 also, for B3 also, for however number of buttons you have in your program. You need to add the listener. You are enabling that I want to listen to the action which this button can cause. That is what this function is doing. This function is allowing us to listen to whatever event this button is going to handle. Now it is taking some, see what it is taking, I want to show you. It is taking some action listener, is an interface actually. It is taking the object of action listener interface. But we know that action listener is an, if it is an interface, then you cannot create the object of action listener interface. You cannot create the object of any interface. So for that object to pass here, or for that reference to pass here, what this reference will be? The reference of your action listener interface. Some class should be able to, you know, implement the interface so that we can pass here object of that interface, or object of that class, or reference of that interface, right? If you remember from the interface concepts, then we cannot create the object of interface. So we need to find some class, or we need to find some class that is having implementation, or it is implementing our interface, which is known as action listener. It is taking the reference of action listener interface, and we need to pass that thing over here. But before we pass that, I want to revisit the concept of inner classes. If we remember inner classes, the classes which you can create inside a class are known as inner classes, and that the reason why we are creating it, that I am going to explain it to you. Why we need inner class over here is that, see, what this action listener is doing, it is capable of listening to some action that you are performing on this button. Now, when the button is clicked, what actions do we want to perform? Well, actually, the first step is I want to extract text field number 1's text. Then I want to extract text field number 2's text. Then if it is a text, or if in the sense if it is a string, then I want to convert that to integer and I want to add them and I want to set the text for my answer label. These tasks you want to perform so that user can see your output. These tasks we want to perform. Now all these tasks are going to be a part of a separate class which can implement our action listener. So the reason why I am choosing to create inner class inside my class is the reason why I want to create, I'm simply naming it as a button event, or say for example, a button handler. The reason I am choosing to create inner class which is going to implement my interface is, in this class, I can easily access all the labels, all the text fields and all the buttons because they are declared in this class itself, right? So if I choose to create inner class, then I can easily access all the properties of my applet here itself of these text fields. If I can retrieve the method, I can retrieve the text on the text fields by using any of the method over here that we are going to see, but I can choose to create inner class because of that reason. Another thing is, this class should be able to implement our action listener interface. It is an interface. And what is interface doing? It is listening to the action events. It is listening to the action events of whom? Your button. Why? Because you are listening to the action of your button B1. So I am implementing action listener over here. And we know that, see, you are adding the action listener for B1. So now this class should be able to put on the mechanism over here, or this class's body should give you something in the sense when B1 is clicked, whatever is happening now is getting listened by your action listener, which is implemented in your so-and-so class. And we already know that if it is an interface, it will have abstract method. So let us go ahead and check the abstract method. What do we have? Implement all the abstract method of this interface. There is only one method in this interface which is abstract. Which is that? It is action performed. What do you mean by action performed? When the action is performed on that button, what do you wish to do? That you need to give it over here. Right. So this is the action performed method. I'm just deleting the code from here right now. It is completely empty. This method is completely empty. And what should we pass here? Well, we were here. See, if you again check the syntax, here we have to pass the reference of your action listener L. So this reference cannot be created. How can we create the reference of interface? If you have some interface I1, then how can you create the reference of interface? By calling or implementing the object of, if you remember this dynamic method dispatch, where we have done that shape reference can point to new object of triangle class. So actually, what is this reference? Reference is nothing but new object of wherever you are finding your interface's implementation. Currently, where I am finding my interface's implementation? In my button handler class. So can I create the object of button handler and pass it over here? Yes, I can. See, it is working fine. What this means that whenever the B1 button is, if user is performing some action on this button, who will listen it? This action listener that you have added is capable of listening to that event. And as soon as it listens to that event that you have clicked on the button or you have released the button, it will go to which class? It will go to this class. And it will check for which method? It will check for action performed. Whenever some action is performed on the button, what should I do? That code has to be written over here. Now, is so far you are you are getting the things. Why we have used inner class over here? Because I can easily access. See, I can easily access the methods over here. I am simply writing here that I want to set the text of L3 with hello. As soon as the button is clicked, I can directly set it. L3 is visible over here. Why? Because I have created it inside the class itself. If I create one more class inside it, then your inner class can definitely access all the properties of your current, superior class. That is the reason we have used inner class over here. And what is the use of action listener? What does it pass over here? And when it passes, what you need to do with that class? Are you getting these things clear so far?
Yes, ma'am.
Is anybody having any problems, or you are missing on something or anything? Just let me know right away. Okay. Okay, fine. So, okay, currently now it is simply going to set the text to hello. Let us run the file and check. Is it setting the text to hello? Is it listening to our event or not? Let us check that. I am adding. See, it is setting the text to hello. Right. Now the logic of validation, where you are getting the text, that all logic you will perform where? In this section performed. Right. You can redrive the text. How to get the text of your text field? Just call the function get text and just see it returns something of type string. What does it return? Get text. Get text is returning the text that is presented on your text field component, and by default it is an empty string. Okay, but when user is writing something on it, then you can retrieve that text directly by using get text, which is stored in a variable of type string suppose s1, and now it is your choice how to validate s1. You can run a loop over here till s1's length, and you can check if it is having some character, then okay, it is not allowed. You can check with the ASCII values. You can even check with the character class. You can even check with the character class's function whether is it a digit or not, right? Whether whatever you are currently passing, is it alphabetic or not, is it a digit or not, that all you can check here with your character repo class. That you can definitely do. And if it is not proper, then you can simply set the label as okay, the valid value is invalid, re-enter everything again, I don't want this to process. Something like this you can definitely do. Okay, now currently we are simply adding two numbers, so I am retrieving both the text in a different from the different text fields, okay, in your action perform method. And we all know that strings can be concatenated, they cannot be added, so we can convert them into integer using parseInt function. Integer dot parseInt, I can pass here s1, and I can repeat the same thing definitely for s2, and we can keep here b. Okay, and we can write the c as the answer is a plus b. And what do you want to set? I want to set the label as c. So there you go. Now, okay, it is taking string. No, I need to append empty string, and then it is done. So whatever that you are adding over here, it is storing it in C, and then you are concatenating string with that, and then you are running it. Now let us see if we are getting the correct answer when you are adding it or not. I am putting here 10, I am putting here 12, and the answer is it is incorrect, right? It should be 22, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Then how come the answer is incorrect? Let me check it again. Oh, yes. No. I did the parseInt for S1 itself. Okay. It should be S2 here, right? So we can parse both of them. Now let us check the answer. 10 and 12. Yes, you have the answer 22. All right. Anybody having any simplest question also so far? Yes. Okay, fine. Then I have a question for you. Just imagine this is what we have done for one button. If I want to add a calculator over here, and if I want to have all the 4 buttons, add, subtract, multiplication, and division, then I have to give different action performed here for every of the button, right? And if you remember from the overloading concept, can I overload action performed for a different button? Can I do that? No, yeah. See, it is not possible. Action performed can be written only once because it is a function of your interface, and you cannot overload it. And even if you overload it, you need to pass your different arguments, which is not the exact signature of the action listener method. The point I am trying to convey here is that if I wish to add multiple buttons, say for example, we also have the same scenario. We also have different buttons such as B2, B3, and B4. I have to create different classes for B2, B3, and B4. Button handler 1, button handler 2, button handler 3 having their own implementation of action performed. So whenever B2 is clicked no, it will go for button handler 2 class only. And whenever B4 is clicked no, it will go for button handler 4 the numbered class only. Are you getting the problem here first?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, so for every button we have to create another class.
Yes, and that is not the ideal situation. That is not the ideal way to go. There is a solution for that, of course. I will help you out with the solution. But I can help you out in the next session, not today. I have another class also. That just keep that problem in your mind that this is the problem. You have to have different classes, which will make our code lengthy so much, and which is not the ideal solution. But we are going to discuss the solution for that in the next session, not today. But if anybody is having any questions so far, they can ask me right away. Otherwise, I'll take the attendance, and then you can go for your next session. First, whenever you get time, please try to practice this at home. Because we are not having much time now, it is a scenario that we will be not having so much time now. It is the last week that you all are with me. So please, whenever you get chance, try to experiment these things at home. Whenever you face problems, you can let me know. How many are there? Okay. Okay, I'll take the attendance. Ayush? Rohan? Vipin?
Present, ma'am.
Manav? Anuj? Riddhi? Riddhi is there. Yashraj? Jash? Mansi?
Yes, ma'am.
Nikita? Manthan?
Present, ma'am.
Smith Kumar?
Yes, ma'am.
Devansh?
Present, ma'am.
Ala?
Yes, madam.
Yashang?
Yes, ma'am.
Vipin? Tushar?
Present.
Yash?
Present.
Manyar?
Present, ma'am.
Parmar?
Present, ma'am.
Udayraj? Rishabh? Yes. Ivanchi?
Present, ma'am.
Janvi? Manuchali? Harshvardhan? Vijayraj?
Present, ma'am.
Radhanya? Bharti? Avinash?
Present, ma'am.
Limbani?
Present, ma'am.
Arjan? Maharana? Tanmiraj?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Jignesh Prasad?
Present, ma'am.
Sushil Prasad?
Present, ma'am.
Yes. Dhruvi?
Yes, ma'am.
Netik? धार्मिक, मोहम्मद, रुनाल, निधि,
Yes, ma'am.
अर्पित, मेघना, यश,
Present.
दिव्या, सैफली, समीर आलम,
Present, ma'am.
ईशा,
Present, ma'am.
विभूषा,
Yes, ma'am.
ओम, आदित्य,
Ma'am, AI46 present.
yes, रिप्लानी, आदित्य जैन, जय दकान, प्रियंक,
Present, ma'am.
तुषार, निकिता,
Present, ma'am.
गिरीश, प्रतीक,
Yes.
enrollment number 62. Shri is present. 64. Yes. 59. 60. 63. Hima. 65.
Present, madam. 64. Pema.
Yes. 65. Yes. Yeah. 73. Muhammad.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Darshan.
Yes, ma'am.
Jaideep. Smriti.
Present, ma'am.
Vaishali.
Present, ma'am.
Vasu.
Present, ma'am.
Kunal.
Present, ma'am.
Then you all can leave the session. Yes, Voldy, I have marked you as present.
हेलो मैम।
Yes, Limrani.
मैम मैं बोल रहा था मैम, कल जो एग्जाम थी ना मैम,